Hi, it's Mrs. Souza. I'm here today with my daughter Kaylee, and we are going to make bird feeders out of recyclable objects. And we'll be incorporating some objects from nature in the bird feeder.
So these are the reusable objects that you could use. I have cardboard milk cartons. I've also kept the cap. But we may not need that for this project. You can also use plastic milk jugs. These are the objects from nature. I found whirlywigs, which I love, and sticks. Whatever you have from nature, you could incorporate into yours. These are objects that you might need some parent or adult help with. An X-Acto blade or box cutter, utility knife, very sharp, and some glue sticks and a hot glue gun. The hot glue gun gets pretty hot, so you'll definitely need adult or parent help with it. Here's how we'll use the sticks.
And we're going to glue them on top. So we're going to probably break some of these a little bit so they're not as long. And then we will glue them on top like that. So I've started gluing. I put some hot glue here and up here, and I'm just going to start laying the sticks across. You can alternatively just glue right here along the top, but I wanted to make my roof taller. So where would we put the next one?
Right.
Can you lift the bottom of that stick for me?
So this is what it'll look like as you start gluing the sticks on. I decided to take the cap off and pop this plastic piece out. This is what it looked like before. I unscrewed the cap and popped the plastic piece out. And now it's time for some whirlywigs. I decided to glue some here in this empty little spot because I thought that it took up the space nicely. Again, you'll need some adult help with this, but I just stacked them in there like this.
So here's what we've got so far.
And here we are with some more additions. Mrs. Souza placed the hot glue, and Kaylee helped me with all of the found objects from nature. It looks pretty cool so far. Now that I have the top done, we are going to concentrate on the sides. This is where we're going to need to use a marker, and we will mark on the cardboard where we want some help cutting. We will make a big open spot. All right, I got a permanent marker, or really just any pen that will allow me to mark. I am measuring with my eye where I want to put the bottom of my giant window. I will want enough space to put at the bottom to put birdseed in the feeder. Okay, because wherever your window is where the bird can go in and eat birdseed. So I am marking the bottom, and now I am marking the sides. I want to be sure that I leave enough space beside the hole so that my structure is stable. Remember, if you have a strong base, you will have a strong structure. So I'm trying to decide how I want my window to look. I'm going for an arc.
One of the things I wanted to be sure to point out is when an adult or a much older sibling is helping you, you should know a little bit about utility knives. Utility knives, or a box cutter blade, or an X-Acto knife, are all very sharp. Box cutter might also be called a utility knife, but I call it a box cutter, has a retractable blade which you push forward. You may also notice these little grooves, the little indentations here on the blades. I've used this piece right here so much that it is dull, so I snapped off one of the pieces. For example, and I now have a clean tip. The question then becomes, where did that other tip go? I believe it popped into my garden bed over here, so I'm going to look for it though, because I don't want to step on it. But at any rate, it's a nice tool to have, but it is very sharp. So once I have found where I want my blade to be, I push this little piece of plastic down, which locks it in place. When I am done using it, I push this little plastic piece back up and I pull the blade back down into the handle. This is a box cutter or a utility knife. When you are done using a hot glue gun, the glue gun itself is still hot. You need to unplug it, which I have done, so that it doesn't continue to warm up and melt glue. A wise word from a wise art teacher. That would be me. Make sure that you have something under this to catch any glue as it melts. Even if you're not pushing on this glue stick or this nozzle, glue comes out on its own. So unless you are outside in an area where it's okay to get a couple of dribbles of glue, then you do not want to do it without a paper plate underneath it or something to that effect. So here is some glue that got on the concrete, and thankfully it picks right off. So I'm not worried about that. However, I would be if it was in an area that you shouldn't be working.
Okay, here we go with our sharp blade and our knowledge of sharp blades. I am making small little cuts into the milk carton. You can do the same thing with a plastic milk jug. If I can't make a turn, I will go ahead and start another side. Eventually, all of your cuts will line up.
Right, here I go. I have the original side. I put a circle on this side, and as you can see on the opposite side of that, and then over here, I got similar shape as it was on the front. Another alternative to this project is to have a parent help you get started with cutting the box with a pair of scissors, and then that would be poking a small hole, and then cutting over to the edge of where you want to cut your window out, and then you would start cutting with scissors. Personally, I like using the utility knife, and if you have one at home, it's a helpful tool to use. Also, hot glue gun is totally optional. Decorating it with pieces of nature is completely optional. You might be asking, why did I use hot glue? And that's because it dries quickly and it's waterproof. So, if I were to use Elmer's glue, what do you think would happen? I'll let you think about that one for a second. If I were to use Elmer's glue outside, the pieces that I have glued on would eventually fall off when it rains. And so also it is not necessarily very durable for this application. So see about a glue gun if it's possible. If not, no big deal. You can still put stickers on your milk jug. You could paint it. If you color it, it will come off because it's like a waxy outside, like kind of waxy feeling, slick, and so the markers don't work as well if that is what you were trying to go for. But you could paint it, you could put paper on it, collage it. If you were to put paper on it, you would need to like seal it. So after you glue everything down, you'd probably want to take, if you had Mod Podge, that would be a great time to use it. So even though this is a permanent marker, it still does this. Let's see if it's gonna do it. Of course, not on the bottom. So on the bottom it looks like a permanent marker should, but when I was working on the side, it like beads up, you see? Yeah. So if you were interested in decorating it or something, that would be something to think about, is that it beads up and may not look the way you want. But this is how you make a bird feeder using a recyclable milk container. You could also, alternatively, you could use a plastic milk jug and very similarly cut out windows. You would want to use the handle on the milk jug to hang it, hopefully. Here, it's part of the reason why I put this up on top here. One of the reasons is to cover up all the nasty edges up there. But the other reason was to create a little hole here so that I could hang, and I believe I still have one underneath there too. Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and creatively hang this, and then I'm going to go ahead and put some birdseed in, and I'll show you how to do that. So I came outside, found this nice little spot under a dogwood. I hung it up against the tree. Here's some birdseed. Yep, looks real nice. Then I came outside to take a look, and there was a squirrel hanging upside down on the bird feeder. That's his fluffy tail at the top. Well, you know what I say. As long as somebody's happy, we'll have a nice fed squirrel back there. Bird feeder, squirrel feeder, yeah. Came out a little later and he's eaten more of the seeds. That cheeky little squirrel. I noticed that there were cracked sunflower seeds underneath too. I bet he had fun. So have fun making your bird and squirrel feeder. I can't wait to see what you come up with. Until next time, bye.